Out of all the things I've worked on, whether it's relationships, personal development, negotiating multi-million dollar deals, conscious manifestation has been by far the easiest thing on earth. And if hearing that makes you think that's not true for me, good. Because the reason it doesn't feel true is the exact limiting belief we're going to break down in this video. Now the first point is you're manifesting all the time. You're not turning manifestation on and off like a light switch. You're doing it right now. The only difference is whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. Like every thought you repeat or every assumption you keep reinforcing, even every story you keep telling yourself about what your life means, that is already shaping your experience. It's not waiting for a magical ceremony or waiting for a perfect routine. It is already in motion. And that is why it's easier than people think, because you're not learning to create reality from scratch. You're learning to stop unconsciously authoring the same old one. And that's a huge difference. Because once you really see that, the pressure drops. Because you stop asking, am I doing manifestation right? And you start asking the real question, what am I creating, without even realizing it. Now, second point is where there is another issue, which is mixed signals. So most people, they say they want something, but very few people are actually fully organized around that thing. Now they say they want more money, but their identity, it still behaves like scarcity is normal. They say they want a better relationship, but they keep rehearsing those same old distrust, fear, and emotional protection. They say they want freedom, but their internal language, it still sounds like somebody who's, waiting for life to approve them first. And that gap is the problem, because desire alone is not enough, and wanting something and being internally aligned with it are two completely different things. Since the mind, it can want one outcome, while your nervous system or your habits and your self-talk can keep voting for the other one. And whichever pattern has been more deeply rehearsed, that is the one which usually wins. That is why some people get results without even understanding the language of manifestation, while others who know every concept, they still feel stuck. Because it's not about how much you know, it's about how aligned you are. When your inner direction, your self-image and your actions, they're all pointing the same way, things start moving faster. And it's not because the universe finally heard you, it's because you finally stopped sending mixed signals. Now the third point is your emotions are not the boss. A lot of people get trapped here because they think if they don't, feel amazing, nothing is working. And that's a mistake, because your emotions, they're useful, but they're not the authority. They're more like information. They tell you what your attention is currently logged onto, and they even tell you when you're spiraling or when you're resisting something, but they don't get to decide what is true about you. If you only trust your emotions when you feel good, then life becomes unstable, because let's say one bad mood and everything collapses, or one disappointing day and you think the whole process has failed. That's not power, that's more like dependency. And real control is when your state can move, but your identity does not have to. What that means is you can have a rough day without becoming a rough identity. You can feel low without concluding that your future is also going to be low. That is one of the biggest shifts in all of this, because when your emotions, they stop running the entire show, you stop reacting like your current circumstances are final. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, it makes sense, but how do I actually apply this in real life without overcomplicating it? I've broken that down in one simple exercise. It's in another video. I will add the link in the description down below. It's worth checking out after this one. Now, the fourth point is the old life, it keeps living through repetition. And this is where people, who are the smartest, they get stuck the most because they overcomplicate it. They look for a deeper technique or a better method or even a hidden trick. But most of the time, the thing that's holding them back is not lack of information, it's repetition. The old identity, it has been rehearsed longer. That is all. And I did this for years. Every few months, I would have a moment of real clarity. I would reorganize everything, a new plan, genuine conviction that this time it would be different, and things would improve, but only for a while. But the same patterns, the same ceiling, it always came back. And for the longest time, I thought at that time that the problem was discipline. What I did not see was that the default underneath all of that had never actually changed. I kept building new plans on top of the same old operating system. Now your brain, it trusts what has been repeated. Your body, it is also trusting what has been lived. And your self-image is trusting what has been reinforced over and over and over. So if you have spent years living as someone who doubts or who delays, overthinks and second guesses himself, that version of you becomes the default. Not because it's the truth, because it is the most practiced. And that is why people can do a few affirmations in the morning and just go right back into the old patterns before lunch. And it's not because affirmations don't work, it's because a few minutes of a new input is very weak when compared with years of old reinforcement. So the answer is not to do more techniques, the answer is to become more consistent with the old version of you. It's a very simple way to do that is pick one identity statement, not 20, just one. Something like, I am someone who moves forward even when I'm uncertain. And then for the next 30 days, your job is to catch yourself when you're living as the opposite. Not to judge yourself, just to notice it and then return and say that that was the old response. Now, what would the new version of me do here? That question repeated consistently is where the shift actually starts to happen. Because the brain, it changes through repetition, not only through revelation. You don't need a breakthrough, you just need to keep choosing the same direction until it becomes the default. Now the fifth point is detachment is not caring. Because people when they hear detach, they think that it means becoming passive. It does not. Detachment means the current circumstances, they no longer get to define your self-concept. So you stop letting what is visible right now define what is possible. You stop treating the present moment like it is the final verdict. You stop emotionally surrendering to the circumstances that are only temporary reflections of an old inner state. That is not giving up, that is leadership. Because if every external delay can shake you, then the external world is in control. But if you can see the delay without becoming it, then you stay in charge. This is why so many people stay trapped. And it's not because they lack power, it's because they keep worshipping the evidence. It's almost like they keep checking their bank account like it's their identity. Or they keep checking their relationship like it's their self-worth. Or they even keep checking the result again and again like that's the truth about them. And the moment you do that, you hand the steering wheel back to the old reality. Now the sixth point is, make it simple enough to actually live. And this is where a lot of manifestation content falls apart because it sounds powerful, but it's not usable in real life. So let me make it very practical and easy to use in real life. Let's say if you're the kind of person who knows the life you want, but you keep slipping back into the old energy, you need a simple operating system. Not like 20 techniques or 1,000 affirmations and a magical morning routine that collapses the second life gets messy. You need three things only. First, decide who you are practicing being. Not what I'm trying to get, but who am I being while I get that. And then second, catch the moments where you contradict that identity. Not to judge yourself, just to notice the drift. And that little moment where you say, I knew this would go wrong, or that moment where you shrink after one delay, or that moment where you start rehearsing failure before even anything has happened, that is the old program speaking. And then third, return immediately. Not tomorrow, not after the mood improves, immediately. That is the real work. Because manifestation is not about never getting triggered, it's about recovering faster than before. Now if you want a simple way to actually apply this without overthinking it, I've created a video which has one simple manifestation exercise to apply the teachings in real life, which is on your screen and in the description down below, and I'll see you there.